And Mars badly aspected to Saturn will bring a lot of inner stress and tension within yourself on sexual levels. You'll have a lot of difficulties with the expression of those sexual energies. There'll be a bad relationship between yourself and older people, especially parents. There'll be difficulties in the career. Saturn is the embodiment of the third ray of intelligent activity, so it's the planet that works on the career and in industry and business and commerce and so forth. So Mars badly aspected to Saturn will see difficulties in the job and in the career and in dealings with government departments, dealings with authority, dealings with older people, parents and so forth. Mars in bad aspect to Uranus will see crises. Uranus is a spiritual planet, but Uranus badly aspected to Mars will also impact negatively upon your sexuality. So there'll be a lot of deviations in your sexual nature. There'll be a lot of crises whereby you have a lot of accidents and a lot of impulse and conflict and tension in your life, and so forth. Now Mars badly aspected to Neptune. Neptune will bring in drug addictions, alcoholism, escapist habit patterns. It's a very spiritual planet too, but when it's badly aspected, well then it brings out the negative side of Neptune, and that's going to see you involved in all sorts of deceptive activities in regard to sexual expression and self-punishment and self-destruction and all those things like addictions and alcohol and drugs and so on and so forth. So there's going to be a lot of stress and tension inside of yourself going on there. Let's now look at another planet in aspect, bad aspect to all of your other planets, and let's look at Jupiter. So Jupiter badly aspected to the Sun will see your overall personality expressing itself in a negative way, self-destructive way, and brings in drugs and alcohol, deception against the law, problems with the law, difficulties with your own integrity and principles and values of honesty and trust and so forth. Jupiter in bad aspect to the Moon will see a lot of secret worries and insecurities for you to do with family and domestic matters, a lot of emotional problems inside of yourself with regard to your own self-image on emotional levels and the way that you feel about yourself, the beliefs that you have about yourself. Jupiter badly aspected to Mercury will see a lot of deception in the job, a lot of secret worries in the job, problems with legal matters, difficulties with motor vehicles. Jupiter badly aspected to Venus will see deceptive relationships and love relationships, selfish expression of love. Jupiter badly aspected to Saturn will see a lot of insecurities in regard to your career and the job, legal complications in business and so forth. Jupiter badly aspected to Uranus will see a lot of problems for you with regard to friends and group social activities, legal complications and so forth. And Jupiter badly aspected to Neptune will bring drugs and alcohol into your life, and a lot of secret worries and insecurities, difficulties making adjustments and changes within yourself on spiritual levels. So that's just a brief look at what's going on there with the planets. Now, I'm not going to go into the positive side of these planets, and because time doesn't allow, and in the course of 2 videos that I want to cram all of this into. But what I'm trying to say to you is this, is that your houses of your horoscope are reservoirs for thought forms. And your thought forms are attractive things to your mind. Okay, so you've got all of these thought forms in your life, and they're all there in your horoscope and they're inside of yourself, and all of them have a resonant causation. And so it's not as if the energies have got to travel from these planets physically over millions of miles to excite our thought forms that are there inside of our body. These planets exist on higher dimensions, and so therefore they're everywhere at once. So what I'm trying to say is that you've got a whole bundle of thought forms inside of yourself that have a resonant causation that links them to one of the 12 houses of your horoscope. Okay, now I've gone through the houses of the horoscope, so you've got an idea of what's going on there. But what's happening with these planets is that they actually also have a connection, what's called rulership, with these houses of your horoscope. So the planets in the heavens are moving around the zodiac, and as these planets around the heavens move around the zodiac, they get into configurations with the planets in your horoscope. They get into configurations of conjunctions and sextiles and squares and trines and oppositions in their movement around the zodiac with the planets in your horoscope. Now when they do, when for example the sun in its movement through the zodiac gets into a bad aspect with your Mars in your horoscope, then that means that it's going to activate all of those thought forms that are to do with Mars in your horoscope. And so it's going to have impact upon the thought forms that are to do with the location where Mars is in your horoscope, the house that it sits in, and also the house that Mars rules. Mars rules Aries, and so this house with the Aries on the cusp of that, it will impact upon those thought forms. And Mars also rules Scorpio, and so therefore that has an impact upon the house that's got Scorpio on the cusp. So here you've got the planets in movement, and they are forming aspects with the planets in your horoscope, and they are therefore activating through energy interchange the thought forms that are to do with those particular houses and to do with that particular planet. Do you get the idea? And that means that when you've got bad aspects in the moving planets to your natal planets, it activates all of the thought forms that are connected with those planets, and that activates and impacts upon various thought forms in the houses of your horoscope. So the houses of your horoscope are reservoirs for these thought forms, and these thought forms are activated, and therefore when they're activated by these moving planets, they attract the attention of your mind. So that's why some days you wake up and you just, at the end of the day, you say, wow, that was a very harrowing day. It was a discordant day. I just couldn't get anything right. I couldn't get my mind onto what I wanted to achieve. My mind was in chaos. My emotions were in chaos. And that's the reason why, is because you've got all of these thought forms there inside of yourself that are being activated by these moving planets and drawing the attention of your mind, and therefore the energy of your mind stimulates these things and brings about events into your life. And this is what we're all going through. This is what we're all dealing with. We are all dealing with these planets in movement, forming aspects to our natal planets in the horoscope, activating our thought forms that are attached to those planets, and drawing the attention of our mind, so that we've got all of these activities going on inside of ourselves on emotional and mental levels on a day-by-day basis, and sometimes we just can't concentrate. So when we start to want to think about what can I do now to ensure that I maintain harmony in my marriage when I go home this evening from work? How can I correct the discord that's going on between me and my boss in the job? And you're thinking about these things and you're wanting to make things calm, but somehow there's these energies that you're dealing with and these thought forms that you're dealing with. You don't know why. You just screamed at that person, or you screamed at that boss, and it seemed as if you lost control over your emotions and you lost control over your speech. And so we've got all of these tests that are going on all over the place, all through the 12 houses of our horoscope. Tests in regard to our personal self-initiated efforts, tests in regard to our handling of money and our sense of security, tests in regard to our communications with those in our immediate environment, tests with regard to our security in the home environment and how we're providing security and love and empathy with everybody in the home. Tests in regard to our sex drive and our romantic life and our social life and our dealings with children. Tests in regard to our health and what food we're going to eat. Tests in regard to our job. Tests in regard to whether or not we're going to exercise and look after our body. Tests in marriage. Tests in regard to our capacity to transform ourselves through introspection and reflection. Tests about joint finances. Tests about legal matters, and tests about in-laws. Tests about trying to project ourselves to new horizons through study of philosophy and so forth. Tests in regard to our career and business, tests in dealings with parents, tests in dealings with authorities, tests in our own sense of self-esteem and self-worth and value in life, tests in regard to our friendships, dealings with other people's children, tests in regard to club activities and group social functions, and tests in regard to our secret worries and insecurities and any bouts in hospital and crises that come up in our life. So here we are. We're all in this testing environment all the time, and these planets are activating these thought forms inside of ourselves and driving us into expression of. And so this is what the planets are all about in aspect with each other. They are all working together on your thought forms. You come into incarnation when the planets are in the perfect alignment to suit your inner being. And the objective in life is to rise above all of this chaos and raise the rate of vibrational frequency of the energy that makes up our emotional and mental bodies. And it's not an easy task. And what's happening now too is that as the consciousness of humanity is expanding, so the amount of energy is coming into the planet, into humanity in other words, is increasing. And so we're all having our consciousness raised, our intelligence raised through world education and so forth. So it's a tremendous amount of activity that's going on inside of ourselves and a lot of complexity. And no wonder that half the community feeling the stress and the tension and the difficulties and having mental and emotional problems inside of themselves. But there is a way out of the dilemma, and that is the science of meditation, and I'll get to that as I go on further with these videos. And my intensives also cover the science of meditation for you in much more depth than what I can cover on a couple of videos. So it's nice to have this opportunity to be able to talk with you about the aspects between the planets and the way that they function and work in your life.